It's one thing to feel grateful when things are going well, but how do we find gratitude when it just feels like life is not going your way, when your prayers feel unanswered? Today, that is what we are discussing. So let's get started.
Welcome to the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, a place for the strong, sensitive, spiritual seeker to recognize the perfection of your humanness. My work is to bridge both the emotional and spiritual worlds through proven and grounded frameworks that support you to live in the wholeness you already are. For over the past 2 decades, I have supported people from all around the world, as well as Fortune 500 companies, to dissolve the divisions within them and live with greater empowerment and love. This podcast is an exploration of the paradoxes that befuddle us as we live our lives being both human and divine. Together, you and I, along with other experts, will navigate integrating psychology and spirituality, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the darkness and the light, to create greater sacred union from within. I believe through your remembering that you are innately divine, that you will allow yourself to more openly shine. So let's get to it, because your unique light is needed more than ever.
Hello, and welcome back, or welcome to I'm Perfectly Divine podcast. Today, we are talking about gratitude. I know I've jumped on the Thanksgiving bandwagon. It's because it's a natural feeling that comes forward where it's just this energy of, what do I have to be grateful for? And what I'll say is that right now, I know a lot of people are feeling challenged. And this isn't about being creating an inauthentic experience of gratitude just because it's Thanksgiving or just because you think you ought to. This episode is really about, how do I regain that place within my heart where I truly have appreciation for every aspect of my life, even when every aspect of my life is not going as I thought it would, even when I'm in the midst of a lot of pain or challenge. And this really is the next up level of not just experiencing gratitude for life, but I think our spiritual selves, where our spiritual self can see beyond just the happenings in the here and now and know that our soul is going through something that is preparing us for us to be able to hold more of our desires. And so I've heard people share with me that they don't believe in prayer. They don't believe in the benevolence of the universe or of the divine or of God, because of suffering that has taken place in their life. And if this is you, I want you to know that you're not alone. And when I hear this, what I know is that you're in a grieving process. So we grieve when there's a significant loss, when we're going through a challenge that we just can't seem to get out of, or that we're just not experiencing life how we thought it was going to turn out to be. And so we need to grieve our losses and these challenges, because that grief is showing us that it has meaning to our heart. And I won't share a lot about grief. It's a whole nother topic that I talk about in my private podcast series, Eyes Wide Open. But I just want to acknowledge that there are times when we are going through grief, and there's times when we're saying, okay, I'm still in this challenge and I'm ready to address it more head on. And what we're sharing today is an opportunity to start to shift things in that direction. And what I'll say is that when there has been suffering in my life, when things aren't going my way, I have always been shown a very tiny, minuscule breadcrumb. And this is true for everybody that I've worked with around the world. And part of the honor that I get in the work that I do is that people come to me in some of their most painful chapters of their life. And it's holding the both and that this is the most painful chapter in their life. And the light is still there. There's a breadcrumb of it. And we've got to do our best to reach for that breadcrumb and take it for how it is guiding us to the next chapter that we are going to be living at some point. And there's something about going from this chapter and being able to turn the page and what's required of you to turn the page, that this breadcrumb is guiding you to receive. And when we're in the midst of the challenge, it really feels like these tiny specks, but these tiny specks are really all that we can tolerate to digest, to receive, because there's so much pain going on over here. And that's okay. This is a natural part of our growth experience. It's a natural part of the heroine's journey where we continue to spiral downward, and we have to be gentle and compassionate with ourselves. So this is in no way slapping on a happy face when we are going through something that's completely stripping our old selves raw, and that process. It really is going to guide you to recognize what is really going on, and from there to see if you can authentically amplify your gratitude because of this recognition for yourself and what is really going on a spiritual level. And so the breadcrumbs are always being there as a way for our spirit to be led. And so we have our human selves and we have our divine selves, and our human selves are going to have times when we are really in our humanity, our real life experiences, and yet our spiritual self is still there. It's always there. It just gets clouded by the muck that we're going through. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means you have to be in the muck in order to sift through, to find the gold in the dark. And that's what you're doing. And that's why you want to honor yourself. And so the truth is, for myself and the people that I've worked with, is to recognize that you are being prepared for what's next. You are being prepared for this next chapter. And you are being shown where you need the pattern disruptor to emerge from within you. Because there's a pattern that's created the current chapter, and your emotions are being awoken, and they're being awoken very strongly because they are the initiator energy. They are the energy that says it's time for a pattern disruption so that you can enter this next chapter differently at the core of who you are. And when things are not going your way, you're hitting a block, right? You're hitting a block, and you hit the block, and that block is there to inform you that something needs to change. And I've told you this before. I've hit the block over and over again, and I've made it about me. There's something wrong with me, versus the block is there and it's guiding me of what needs to shift within me so that I can stop hitting my head against this block and blaming myself. And that's what elongates our suffering. So I don't want that for you. So what needs to change? Well, that's what your emotions are for. Your emotions are coming forward to guide you as to what within you needs to shift. And your emotions are there on the subconscious level, because remember, your subconscious mind is able to process what's happening in the world at a rate that's 100,000 times faster than your logical, rational mind. And so your emotions are right there, knowing all your specific patterns and identities and beliefs. And your emotions are there to guide you with a specific feeling because each emotion has different guidance as to what is the way for you to disrupt the pattern that you're in so that you can make a shift. So each emotion has specific guidance to do for us to do this. We're not on our own. We have this beautiful language of our emotions that is guiding us in what we need to shift internally, and then through from that internal shift that we step forward in our reality to take radical responsibility for how we're showing up. And this is what causes the pattern disruption from your typical go-to responses. That And it's recognizing that even if you're not reactionary, sometimes we think we don't get what we want because we're being reactionary, our emotions are out of control. That is one version, right? But those of you who are listening to this podcast, you've worked through a lot of that. Not that we're all going to have our moments when we're reactionary. It's not about perfection, but it's about recognizing, yeah, for the most part, I know how to regulate myself. It's beyond regulation. It's understanding that if I'm getting a certain outcome over and over that's leading me to a wall, then even my calm responses are still in a storyline, are still in an identity that is not working for me. And so the emotion is coming forward in order for you to recognize what this is about for you and then take responsibility for it by showing up differently. And this is what we want to be able to go into. And we want to go into the fear of what this means to you, because it's the fear that's holding us back. And the fear is our ego's way of trying to protect us and keep us in the same patterns. But we are choosing then, when we choose fear, we're choosing to believe in that in the short term because it soothes us on some level to protect us, rather than be in the discomfort of how we are evolving more into our truth. That makes us uncomfortable, that brings up fear for a long-term gain that's going to set up the following chapters of our life to be more easeful for us. And so what happens is that we've been taught to maintain positive vibes, right? And positive vibes, when we keep hitting a wall, can be very, very avoidant of what is really going on and who you need to be in order to take radical responsibility for your life and for this next chapter. And this is part of the whole thing, is that in the heroine's journey, we're looking at our part of the equation, not to blame us, but because that is the truth of who we are, that we are being invited to receive. And so we want to receive these aspects in the external, and the universe is saying, great, we want this for you too. And you've got to be able to hold this. And so this is the preparation for getting there. And so it's not that, positive vibes only is necessarily bad. You simply need to know when the tool fits the job or not. Okay. So just like when you need to know the difference between when do I use a hammer and when do I use a wrench. They're two tools. The tools are important and helpful depending on the job. So you go to positive vibes or believing in the best possible outcome when things are outside of your control. That's when you use it. When things are outside of control, you want to be focusing on the desired outcome that you want, because that's the only part that is in your control, is where you put your mind, where you put your energy. So for instance, I was traveling recently during the government shutdown, and I was flying, and there was others that were very concerned about my flights, and I wasn't even entertaining that. I wasn't entertaining my flight being delayed or whatever, because why would I want to put my attention on the fear of an outcome that I don't want? Why would I do that? It's outside of my control. And so here is where we've heard Mel Robbins say, what if it all works out? This is absolutely appropriate. What if it all works out? That was my attitude. I'm like, I'm just assuming my flights are going to be on time and everything's going to work out because that's how I want it to operate, right? And it's outside of my control. That's when we use the positive vibes. What if it all works out? Because it's not in our control. And that is different when you keep hitting a challenge that feels like you are hitting the same wall over and over again, not getting the desired outcome. And that is there to inform you. So for instance, let's say you have a friend, a family member who is constantly late. And that is driving you crazy. You're going to experience a certain emotion. It could be anger, it could be frustration, it could be sadness. But that emotion is coming forward for you in order to guide you, specifically on how you need to show up to create a pattern disruption for you. And again, your emotion knows if you've created a boundary or not before, had a conversation or not before, or needs to walk away or not. And that's why that emotion is coming up for you to guide you specifically. And so, how you need to respond is according to your truth. And that's why it's not about them. See, our egos want to make it about them. I'm angry because of them. But the anger is coming forward for you. You are feeling the anger because there's something that anger is guiding you to step into, to recognize why people may be treating you a certain way and to do the pattern disrupt so that you get different outcomes. And then this is how you deepen your experience by recognizing that this is happening for you. Why would this be happening for you? Because the same conversation or boundary or stepping away that you have to do with this friend or family member happens to be exactly what you need to practice at work. And that is not by accident. This is part of the preparation. This is how the divine is working for us. And the universe is so beautifully intertwined. It's this beautiful web that is guiding you to hold all that you desire to have in your life. And that requires preparation. It needs you to be able to hold it all and be in your power and be in your truth and be in your love without apology. So being grateful when things aren't going your way is an amplification then of trust and faith while you are in this place of pattern disruption. You're in this pattern disrupt of the old ways of being. And doing this creates the new self that is going to be able to handle receiving exactly what you desire to receive. And it's holding that and this trust and faith in the universe that the feeling sense of what you are going to receive is going to be beyond what the physical reality of that may or may not be. But what I know is that your emotions are always working in conjunction to support you to obtain this growth so that you're able to hold your desires and really live with them joyfully, freely, openly, abundantly, unapologetically. And you are learning to expand the energetic container that can hold all with love, all with love. And that takes radical responsibility on your part to not just listen, but then take action on the pattern disruption that you are being called to make. And to be willing to choose your truth despite fears. That's how we widen the container to expand to greater love, because instead of choosing fear, we're choosing love. that automatically expands our energy, our being. And your ability to do this and be guided in this way to change your life is a freaking miracle. You being here, you being at this place of being willing to go in to the places that scare you, to be able to take radical responsibility even when you've been grieving, to be able to be a pattern disruptor is such a powerful place to be, because I'm telling you, I have seen such loving, good-hearted people who have done, who meditate daily, done the plant medicine, lead their own workshops, and they remain stuck because they may have great insight, but let me tell you, they love their stories. And despite hating the outcomes that are occurring in their life because of those very exact stories. It's like they can have all the insight in the world, but when it comes to taking responsibility for how the emotion is trying to work for them, it's like, oh no, I'm glomming on to my story. And it's not to be judgmental about that. We all do that until we get tired of hitting that freaking same wall over and over and over again. And some of us, it takes a long time, and I've been there. And that's why I am so passionate about sharing this with you, because I felt like when I was there, no one was talking about this. They were talking about the first stage of growth and the hero's journey and how to overcome that. And this is just so different. And how to do this heroine's journey in alignment with our spiritual selves. So I want to be clear that I'm not saying that everything that is happening in your life is co-created, it's your fault. I'm saying that after we work through our grief with eyes wide open, you are going to be called to determine who you are going to be, despite a loss, despite a challenge. So we're in that grief chapter, and then it's like the leap to the next pages, and who are we going to be in order to go to the next chapter? And the in between that page is the you that is remembering the truth of who you are. And again, this is not to be judgmental, because I'm laughing because I've been the stubborn person who is hitting a wall for years and knows how difficult that is. But again, I was still being led the breadcrumbs. It just took me a lot of breadcrumbs, and that's okay. That's okay, because sometimes it takes that to really reinforce and remember the truth of who we are. My whole point of this is that if there's a challenge, it's knowing that it's preparing you and that it's guiding you to be a more expansive container always. And I've worked with people with major loss of their own children, loss of a beloved, loss of a career. I mean, I've worked with it all, and I've always seen, I've been blessed to be in that chapter of pain, and I've been blessed to be with them as they enter a new chapter where it has created an entirely different life for this person. And so that's where the divine is leading us, and our emotions can help support us to anchor in our remembrance. So it always requires us to take radical responsibility, exactly because we are calling in more of what we desire, and that requires a truer expression of ourselves to be able to do so. Like it's a truer part of ourselves that's calling in our desire. And so it's asking us to step into that, into our own energy field in our day-to-day, and especially in our challenges. And to me, while some people's, not getting what they want, not getting what they prayed for, becomes the evidence as to why they don't believe in prayer. To me, this is exactly where prayer comes in. Like, I don't know how to do this without prayer. And that's why I've always needed to integrate the psychological and the spiritual, because there is some blessing that comes forward for us when we integrate prayer. Um, and what can happen when we don't believe in prayer is that we're praying for a certain outcome, and then when that doesn't happen, it's easy to take it personally, to feel unloved or forgotten by the universe or the divine. And I have I have been there where I just have felt completely abandoned. And I promise it's not the case. It wasn't the case for me. I just couldn't sense it through my sorrow. And it wasn't the case for anyone that I've worked with. I mean, again, major sorrow, drug addiction, alcoholism, we're still being led. And so why I love prayer so much is because I love specifically praying for others, because it feels like this understanding that we're all part of this web, and that we're all part of this unity consciousness. When I pray for others, it's coming from the heart. It's feeling this sense of, just in my own heart, that if this was going on for me, I would want to be prayed for. So people don't even have to ask. I'm probably praying for them, because I just feel like that that would feel supportive to me. And I think there's something very powerful, because it is a way of remembering that we're all interconnected, that what someone else is going through in the web, that if we can pray for their well-being, that pulls a thread of love that somehow reverberates back to us. And that's not why I do it. I mean, the genuine feeling is I just feel called to pray for someone and their struggles. And it's also because I believe in the love of the universe and the magic that can take place from it. Um, it does not always mean that we are going to get the outcome that we want. Where we are being led, how do we pray when we aren't getting what we want? That's what I think we can focus on, because sometimes it is appropriate to pray for a specific outcome, like someone's health, right? But overall, how I like to pray is praying for the highest good of all, my highest good, the highest good of all, which is beyond what my ego is going to think is right or necessary or should be. Praying for courage, praying to be shown the way. Um, and I've shared this in other podcasts before. It's more of a command and a prayer all in one. It's show me the way. And this is something that I've developed from Megan Watterson and her books with Mary Magdalene and Thecla. So along with this, I'm praying for the trust and faith, the trust in my inner knowing that I'm loved and always being guided, and to be open for that guidance, especially if it scares me. And that's where I like to go in, because that's where I believe we can have the greatest impact in our lives. Being able to go to those places that scare us, this is the gateway. And your emotions are going to show you how to go through that gateway. And this is when we open ourselves to miracles and love in unexpected ways. I'll share with you that there was a time not too long ago when people shared with me that they were praying for me. And I am telling you, I felt it. I felt their love, their prayers. And I still didn't get the outcome that I wanted. But I'm telling you, what I got was even better, because I was able to experience a love from others that was so beautiful. And the love of the love of the universe being there when I'm not getting what I want, and how it guided me to inner strength and resilience and trust in the universe and my inner knowingness, despite what the external was showing me, despite the appearances of not having. And this is a love I couldn't have experienced otherwise. And that's the whole point of why we are in this human form. It is to experience a love that is embodied, that we get to experience through challenges that we would have otherwise not known. And that's why we have both the beauty and hardships of life. And it's not to make the hardships sound easy peasy and all roses and rainbows. I know the humanness of the challenge, of what it means to strip away old identities. And I know that's a way to experience the love, the truth, the power that we are, that cannot be felt in any other way. This is, to me, the magic of the universe working through us to be the containers that are able to hold our desires with love. It's magical, it's powerful, and it can only happen when it's received by you. So until next time, know that there's nothing for you to fix, just to remember. So as we finish up, I want to let you know how grateful I am for you. I am grateful to be on this journey. I'm honored. I'm honored that you tune in. I'm honored that you listen. And I'm grateful for any comments, likes, shares. I'm just realizing how important those things are. I'm not a big tech person. If you aren't either, the comments and the shares really support my work. It helps bring this message to the world. It does something with the algorithms. I don't know, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So thank you for your support, and thank you for being with me on this journey. I'll see you next time.
I am so honored you have joined me today. If you enjoyed the I'm Perfectly Divine podcast, subscribe so you don't miss any of our power-filled episodes. Also, if you know another who is strong, sensitive, and spiritual and wants to dive deeper into emotions and ancient wisdom so they too can create profound peace and fulfillment from within, please share this podcast. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon.